to Money Makes. My name is Callie, and today we are going to be making one of my favorite fall dinner recipes, and that is butternut squash mac and cheese. So this recipe is the perfect weeknight dinner. It's quick, it's easy, it's delicious, it's packed with vegetables, and butternut squash is in season this time of the year, so it's affordable, it's fresh, you're going to find it in abundance at the grocery store, and you are going to love this recipe. You're not even really going to know that there's veggies in this recipe. It's just going to taste creamy and cheesy and just delicious. You are going to love it. So let's get right into it, but before we begin, as always, please remember to subscribe, like, share, chat in the comment section, and follow me on social media for more recipes and additional content. So let's go over the ingredients. We have some butternut squash. So what I've already done is you want to cut it into cubes like so, just small cubes, and you want to boil it, okay? And you want to boil it until it is very tender, so if you pierce it with a knife or fork, it should easily slide through the butternut squash. Once it's cooked all the way through, it should take about 8 to 10 minutes. You want to remove it from the boiling water, bring the water back up to a boil, don't drain the water, and then you're going to cook your pasta in the water. You can use any kind of pasta of your choice. Just make sure that you cook it according to your package's instructions to al dente. Okay, I have plenty of onions, garlic, extra virgin olive oil. I have some black pepper, salt that I need to go grab, and I have Aleppo pepper. If you don't have Aleppo pepper, you can also use red pepper flakes or leave the spice out completely. However, I do recommend adding just a little bit of some kind of spice in this recipe to cut the sweetness of the butternut squash, because I love butternut squash in certain recipes, but I don't really prefer any kind of like sweet pasta or sweet butternut squash soup. I want this to be very savory, so that's gonna cut some of the sweetness. I have some freshly grated Parmesan cheese, a little bit of butter, and here I have some goat cheese. I'm really not using a lot of goat cheese. I'm only using about 2 ounces or so, which is also good because goat cheese can be a little bit pricey. And we'll talk more about that once we get to it. And I have here some of the pasta cooking water that I reserved once I cooked my pasta. And my pasta is just draining in the sink over there. So let's get right into it. First things first, what I have here is a pan. You don't need to use a Dutch oven, just any pan. And I'm heating it up over medium heat. And so to this, I'm going to add my extra virgin olive oil. It might need a few more minutes to fully heat up. And I'm also gonna add in my onions and my garlic. Oh, it's ready to go. You can hear the sizzle. Okay, this is really noisy. I'm not sure why, but I'm gonna add a big pinch of kosher salt. Any kind of salt will do. And some black pepper. We'll add the Aleppo pepper momentarily, but we wanna give the onions and garlic a chance to really kind of cook down. You want the onions to get nice and translucent. They might develop a little bit of color, and you want the garlic, of course, to get lightly golden brown and nice and fragrant, which will not take long. So I'm just gonna babysit this, give it a stir, and I'll meet back up with you once the onions and garlic are ready. Okay, so this is looking good. The onions and garlic have cooked down quite considerably, and everything is nice and fragrant and slightly golden. So at this point, we're gonna add in the butternut squash. So keep in mind, the butternut squash is already cooked, so we're literally only gonna toss it in just briefly with the onions and garlic, and I'm more so doing this just to kind of let the butternut squash have a chance to kind of mingle with those flavors. And we're also going to, at this point, hit it with a little bit of Aleppo and salt and black pepper. And I also just want to point out that in this recipe, I am boiling the butternut squash, and you may be thinking, well, if you roast the butternut squash, that really enhances the flavor, and it does. However, like I said, I don't at all want this pasta to be sweet in any way, and it does kind of sweeten up more when it roasts in the oven. And also, by boiling it, you're gonna cut down on the cooking time by like more than half. It's going to make this recipe even quicker. It's gonna make it so quick to make. So that's what I'm trying to say. And it's a weeknight dinner. So, you know, I don't wanna make anything on a weeknight that's gonna take too much time. So just by boiling these, you already have to boil the water for the pasta. That's good for me, and I think it's gonna be good for you as well. So next up, what I'm gonna do is just cut the heat, and I'm going to clean up a little bit, grab my food processor, and then we're gonna finish this up. Okay, so I just added the butternut squash mixture into my single serve NutriBullet. You don't have to use a single serve NutriBullet. You could use a food processor, a blender. This is just what I like using. It just really cuts down on the cleanup, which is why I like it. I feel like it really blends everything very smooth. And so all the ingredients are in here. Here I have some of the pasta cooking water. I'm just adding a splash for now. Just start small, just to kind of help get everything going once it blends, so it doesn't just kind of like stick inside the blender. And so next I'm just gonna blend this up, and then we will continue. Okay, so I just added the blended butternut squash back into the pot, and as you can see here, it is so creamy, it's so smooth. It literally looks like a cheese sauce right now, and we haven't even added any cheese. So this is looking great. I'm just turning my heat back on to medium. And at this point, what I like to do, because we are gonna add the starchy cooking water anyway, I like to add it just directly into the whatever blender you're using. If you want, this is obviously optional, just to kind of retrieve some of that sauce that gets stuck to the bottom. And this is looking good. There's a little stray noodle in here, that's okay. And so now to finish this up, I'm going to add in my goat cheese and my butter. You can skip the butter if you want, but you know, just adds another layer of kind of creaminess, which I like. And we'll add, we'll add the Parmesan right now. Why not? So that is going in. Now we're just going to stir everything until it is nice and smooth and creamy. And I feel like goat cheese is just the perfect kind of cheese for this recipe because it adds kind of like a layer of like funkiness and tanginess that really goes great in this recipe, and it goes great with that butternut squash that can typically be a little sweet. It's not sweet in this recipe, but it just can be, that's the flavor profile. So once this kind of starts to melt a little bit, I'm gonna add in the pasta, and if you feel like you want your pasta sauce a little bit like saucier and a little less thick, add a touch of the pasta water. I always save like about a half a cup of the pasta water. I don't typically use all of that at all, but you'd rather have more of the pasta water than less. If worst comes to worst, you can just use regular water, but what the pasta sauce does is it contains a lot of starch, and the starch is what's gonna help the sauce adhere to the pasta, and like I said, it helps get everything nice and like smooth and creamy and just like extra saucy. So if you ever feel like you need your pasta a little saucier, add a little bit of pasta water. So this is looking good. The cheese is not fully melted yet, but that's okay. We're gonna add in the pasta at this point, and we're gonna cook everything all together for about 45 seconds or so because we cooked the pasta to al dente. In fact, I cooked it pretty al dente, so you wanna cook it even a minute shy of al dente. So if your package instructions for your pasta says to cook for, let's say, 10 minutes to al dente, you wanna cook it to 8 minutes because we're gonna finish cooking it directly in the sauce. So I'm gonna stir this all together, and then I'm gonna give you a close-up of just how absolutely amazing this pasta sauce really is. Okay, so we are back. I hope you enjoyed that close-up. And as always, for the full written recipe, head to my blog, moonymixrecipes.com. I'll put the link for that in the description box below. Click on the link, the recipe will come right up, and make this butternut squash mac and cheese. I promise you're gonna love it, and let me know what you think because I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.